preventing us from cracking to a point of no return. So we are quite grateful to God that we celebrate our 60th anniversary, even though it's so painful that one can say figuratively that Nigeria is a crawling giant at the age of 60. Nonetheless, we are still one country, and by the grace of God, if we continue to do things that are right, eschew the things that divide us, and enhance and amplify the things that keep us together, I believe that this giant will wake up from sleep one day and take on the whole world.
Of international law and global politics, your comments at this time, is it of a spontaneous jubilation? Is it of sober reflection? Is it of optimism at this time?
Yes, thank you so much, and happy independence to you there in Abuja. It's very interesting to note that Nigeria has come of age, considering the 60 years of age, and someone who is 60 years is supposed to be a sexagenarian. But of course, it doesn't mean that we have come without any problem, because every economy, every society has its own problems that are peculiar to those areas. But for Nigeria, what we have seen over the past 60 years is just because of the intermittent involvement of other rules in forms of military. But of course, considering the 21 years of democracy from 1999 to date, I will give Nigeria a pass, because Nigeria has done tremendously well in the areas of tourism, economy, and the diversification of economy and all what you have. So eventually, it is important to put these things in perspective, because Nigeria, according to the founding fathers, right, Honorable Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Chief Awolowo, Sadana of Sokoto. Of course, in his own words, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, opined that he gave his own 25 to 35 years of age in driving for this democratic dividend, which encapsulated and eventually snowballed into independence in 1960. Of course, Nigeria should internalize this very prospect, because the principle of holism makes it clear that with the sum of the parts are less than the whole. That means holism, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So if we put this in perspective, that unity in diversity, Nigeria shares it amongst all. Amongst all.
Much, Professor JEHU Nyekwere. Professor NEBO, you were a minister in this republic. Looking at Nigeria, the one that got independence, the one we have now, where have we improved in quantum leaps, and where do we still need, where is there the room for improvement where we can quickly begin to address?
It's not an easy assessment to make, especially one who has been through all kinds of things in this country, for which we are very thankful to God. Very recently, I would say that there has been a drastic improvement in power supply, and that is something that we are very thankful that the government is paying some attention to. But I would say that in so many other areas, Nigeria still is falling behind. The issues of security, the issues of our educational system, the issues of the health delivery system, and also even in tourism and culture. It appears that we have not accentuated the things that help us to forge a vibrant unity and become a robust economy. Quite recently also, Nigeria has experienced all kinds of disturbances in our economic stability, and I would say that we keep drifting into recession and gradually coming out of recession. There was a time recently where we were #1 in the foreign direct investment choice for the whole of Africa. And of course, we became the giant of Africa by becoming Africa's greatest economy. But all that appears to be falling behind at this moment. So I would say that government needs to face this issue of security, because without security, you cannot really develop. Without security, industrialization cannot formally take place. And without security, even the power supply we are talking about now will be vandalized. We suffered a lot when I was Federal Minister of Power, and we saw a lot of disturbance within the system because of all kinds of pilferage, all kinds of busting of gas pipelines and so on. But at the moment, one problem with our electricity supply really is, anytime you try to attain 5,000 megawatts, you find out that the transmission system is incapable of taking that. So government, while thinking about generation, must think more seriously about transmission, so that at the end of the day, we have a robust and vibrant transmission system that can wheel out all the power being generated. And at the other end, distribution that is mostly now in the hands of the private sector should also be drastically enhanced. And then, of course, with regard to our education system, a situation where the public system of education at the primary and secondary levels are falling apart. And it appears the best schools at the primary level and at the secondary level are private schools. The same is going to happen. I've predicted that long enough, that private universities will eventually take over from public universities like federal universities and state universities. Some people doubted it, but it's beginning to happen gradually. So I think government needs to do something. We need to modernize our education system. We need to infuse ideas, innovativeness. We need to make our young people realize that mechanical rote memorization, that is taking exams and just cramming up to pass exams, has come and gone. The time now is for innovation. It is now for creativeness. It is now for entrepreneurship. Our youth need to understand that they will not have to depend on anybody else to give them a means of livelihood. So I would say that government can do a lot. Right now, government is doing so much. Unfortunately, many people don't understand with regard to youth empowerment. And I do hope that through the local governments, not necessarily the states, the local governments, federal government can do something for youth empowerment.
Thank you very much, Professor. That cramming method works for me a bit because I was encouraged by my teachers at the point of the cane. Cramming botanical names those days, Arachis, Apogia, Gossypium species, Hevia brasiliensis, just, encouraged by the cane. But let's go quickly to Professor JEHU Nyekwere. You are from the region where the youths are very vibrant, very creative in terms of, commercial issues, commercial activities. But there's an issue of value chain and the missing links along the chains. In the north, there is a very robust hide and skin market. We have a shoe market in Aba. How do we begin to create linkages instead of those leathers escaping somewhere and finding themselves in Europe, perhaps in Italy, and then coming as synthetic leather to Aba? How do we begin to, develop this, value chains for economic, buoyancy and sustainability?
In fact, it's very, very paramount that we should note that here in the Southeast, the youths are very, very industrious. They have contributed to the economy of the Southeast to a very great extent. The level of development is quite gargantuan, when it comes to the national economy. So what I will suggest and I will advise the federal government is to also put more incentives in place to encourage the youth. The restiveness will stop if the youth are engaged accordingly. According to Cicero, the Italian scholar, he said that a room without books is like a soul without the body, or a body without a soul. So it is important that we put this in perspective to encourage the youth. Well, I'm foremost, I have to thank the federal government for the eventual approval of the 75 billion naira over a period of 3 years, which would be like loan. This will help to facilitate, private development in terms of youths. So I believe that if these efforts are geared accordingly to incentivize the youths, they will eventually put the energy in the right perspective without engaging in any restrictive action.
Some reports on the lineup, when they are ready, we begin to take them. Nigeria's economic surgeon, fulfilling the vision of the founding fathers. When we have that, we will take it. JEHU is still right here with me. We understand it is ready. Let's take that report. Nigeria's economic surgeons fulfilling the visions of the founding fathers.
Road Kabir Ibrahim is an architect, a farmer and businessman. Though too young to know what was happening, Ibrahim knew something good was happening to his country 60 years ago. As he grew up, he got to understand that the nation's founding fathers have left virtues, and that put Nigeria on the path of development.
The sum total of the country was looked upon, and every sector or every region had its own competence, and that is why Nigeria was very much looked upon as a promising economy. Because of corruption and all that, and somersault in our policies and all that, Today we are facing serious problems, but we are still the largest economy in Africa.
Chief Sylvester Onojai, retired educationist, believes the nation's founding fathers had patriotism in their DNA.
In 1869, the first secondary school was established in Nigeria. And that secondary school was the CMS Grammar School. And a gentleman, the principal of that school, was Babington Macaulay. He was the principal of CMS Grammar School. He married in 1854 the daughter of Ajayi Crowther. That marriage between Ajayi Crowther